Hello everyone, my name is Tom from the JavaScript Exchange. I hope everyone is well and ready for a fun evening here with Kodiri. The JavaScript Exchange is a fast-growing, community-driven meetup with just under 600 people now spread across the UK, Europe, Asia and even over in the US, with what seems like new members joining us every single day. We work with some of the leading JavaScript specialists in the industry, as well as some truly cutting-edge tech companies to organise interactive talks and presentations on the latest and greatest in JavaScript, catering to all levels from total beginner all the way through to seasoned pro. Over the past 6 months or so since we started, we've partnered with tech companies like Bet365, USwitch, Bulb, Galsto, some AI firms, and had some incredible talks covering things like serverless JS, Node APIs, testing in React, JavaScript performance, and we've even built multiplayer games and used NASA APIs to build exoplanets using Three.js, plus of course much more.
So myself and Tom, we're part of Linux Recruit, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to plan these events. So a massive thank you to them. We both work within the software development team here, and we're heavily involved in the JavaScript community. So if you are looking for a new role or looking to grow your team, feel free to get in touch with either myself or Tom. We're always on the hunt for new speakers. So if you do fancy being part of our next events, you can get in touch with us at info@linuxrecruit.co.uk. And to hear more about our upcoming events and to join our ever-growing community, simply join our Meetup group and follow us on Twitter. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed tonight's meetup and see you all soon.
Hello, good evening, guys. Welcome to another exciting coding session with Kodiri and our friends from JavaScript Exchange and Pusher. Today we're gonna do some live coding. Thankfully, it's not just me because today we are lucky enough to have Kim Wesley. Hello, Kim. Good evening. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Looking
Brilliant.
forward to this.
Yes, so I had the opportunity. Exactly, brilliant. That's the attitude, Kim. I had the opportunity to work with Kim some years ago at the Sky TV in London, and she's a fantastic developer. And today we're going to do some coding together. And we're going to do coding together using the Kodiri platform. If it's the first time you came across Kodiri, FYI, this is an online coding platform. It's the only one in its segment built in Europe. And with Kodiri, you can learn for free the most demanded coding languages, frameworks, libraries, blah, blah, blah. We're talking about things like JavaScript, React, Vue, HTML, CSS, and beyond the full stack, we got things like Java and Python. Yeah. So again, it's completely free. You can play using your desktop. You can play with your smartphone. We got apps, free apps, of course, for Android and iOS devices. Yeah. And we also have a special focus on supporting underrepresented and unprivileged communities. So if you are in touch, if you're aware of any community, any group of people with special requirements regarding coding, let us know and we'll do our best to support them. So let me do just a 2-minute walk through the platform if it's your first time that you are playing with it. So you go to kodiri.com. You can create an account or you can play as a guest. Then the first thing you do is the training. Training means let's see where you are in the development world. So the first thing you do is you select the language, JavaScript, React, whatever. Yeah, and then you also select the difficulty level. Don't worry if you have literally zero coding experience because the platform, works really well with people that is starting, is doing their first steps into coding, right? Actually, I'm gonna just prove that. So mind that I want to, do a bit of JavaScript beginner coding. So on the right-hand side, you got a list of topics. Yeah, a list of, learning paths or learning modules. So I'm gonna select the first one, strings, and I'll show you what happens next. For each module, you are going to get 5 questions to prove your ability to deal with that topic. So for instance, on the very first question, we are asking you as a developer to create a function called getWelcomeMessage. So whenever we call that function, we should return a message. Welcome to JavaScript. Yeah, that's pretty simplistic to the point that we don't even need to do any coding at all, because this is just for beginners. We got the code partially written on the right-hand side, and we have to fill the gaps. You see, we got some placeholders, so we just need to fill these gaps by choosing the right option. So if you pay attention, the message says, welcome to JavaScript. There is a sneaky exclamation mark at the end of the sentence. If we ignore it, and that means we select option B, look at what happened. You see, the code fails because we expected you to return welcome to JavaScript exclamation mark. Your code has nothing to do with exclamation mark. No problem at all. Once we figure out the problem, we select the right option. We get confetti time. That means the answer is brilliant, is cool, is sexy. It means we can submit it, and we can jump to question number 2. So you get the point, right? You got 5 questions, and you need to do your best to figure out the right option on each use cases scenario. What happened? At the end of this journey, you get a score. This score is the way we tell you how good your performance was based on a series of metrics. I'm not going to go any deep in that respect. Probably at the end of this session, we can talk about some of these metrics and how do we evaluate them. But for now, just bear in mind that obviously the higher the score, the better. So once we're familiar with the training, today, what we like to do is actually something called the challenges. So the challenges essentially means that everybody is playing with the same questions at the same time, which is quite exciting, because at the end of this journey, we can compare side by side your performance. So if you go to kodiri.com/challenges, or if you are too lazy to type that by yourself, you go to kodiri.com, and then on the left menu, you select challenges. Then you see we've got different tracks, different swim lanes, one for JavaScript and one for React. React, as you may know, it's a JavaScript library to build user interfaces created by Facebook, by the way. So feel free to join whichever challenge you prefer. So lower beginner means you have literally no coding experience. It's the first time you've heard about JavaScript. You've heard that salaries are quite good, and unemployment rate is very low, so you want to break into the tech market. So that's probably your very first step. Upper beginner means you got some basic coding experience. You understand how to create variables, how to run conditionals, how to create basic loops, things like that. And then if you are a professional JavaScript developer, upper intermediate is the right choice for you. That rule applies to both JavaScript and React. You can join multiple challenges. So imagine that you select lower beginner and you finish in 5 minutes. Feel free to jump to another one. That's fine. Yeah. So we're gonna do some coding together, and we will try to learn something. And particularly, we'll try to have fun, especially under these unprecedented circumstances. Yeah, we are live, by the way. So now I would like us to start doing some coding with my friend Tim. Yes, go for it. No, you can do it now. They can do it now. They can do it right now. Yeah, they can do it right now. Okay, sorry. Oh, yeah. So someone is asking, thank you, Alex. So someone is asking on the chat if they can actually participate in multiple challenges. Yes, of course, you can participate on as many challenges as you want. So you can start with the lower beginner, and then once you finish it, you can jump to upper beginner, and once you finish it, you can jump to upper intermediate. And if you manage to complete all the challenges and you win them all, I'm sure that you won't have any problem on finding a really good job shortly, right? So yeah, of course, don't worry about that. Yes, you join as many challenges as you want today. This is not a serious competition, right? So no one is going to complain about that, hopefully. All right. Not sure, Alex, if there are any other questions, or do you want me just to jump straight away to the... Yes, upper intermediate is the highest level. Yeah, actually, if you are, if any of you guys is a senior developer with a lot of experience and all these things, upper intermediate may be a bit simplistic. But I'll tell you something: try it, because even if you're a senior developer, I don't think it's going to be trivial. Yeah, and if you finish upper intermediate, then I would like to invite you to go to Playground and then select JavaScript, upper advanced, and then feel the pain, the genuine pain of the most complicated JavaScript challenges. Yeah. By the way, at the end of this activity, we will present the results. So we will go through each category, and we'll see who finished first, who finished second, who finished third, and so on. All right. So yeah. So someone is asking which team should you join? Actually, that's a really, really good question at the right time. So once you select your the challenge you want. So for instance, I'm gonna focus on upper beginner JavaScript. You need to choose a team. Yeah. So we, generally speaking, play by teams. To be honest with you, today it doesn't really matter. We used to play large scale challenges between different countries, the UK versus Spain versus Russia versus Israel. And in that case, we obviously redirect people to the right team. But today, because this is just a fun activity, I think we got enough problems, right, in our daily basis in this year. So yes, feel free to pick whichever team you prefer, right? So today, we used to talk when we ran non-competitive challenges like this one. We used to play about movies. So I recently watched a really good movie called Sharktopus versus Werewolf. Not sure, Kim, do you have the opportunity to watch this one?
I have not yet. I wasn't aware werewolves were a thing until just now.
It's a really good one. It's actually available on Amazon Prime. I mean, to be completely fair, it's slightly disappointing compared to Sharktopus, which is obviously the original one. I think, I don't know. It's a bit special, right? It's okay. It plays really well on a rainy Sunday evening, but yeah, don't expect much. But anyway, I know that some people like Sharktopus. Some people prefers werewolf, which obviously is half wolf, half a wolf. So yeah, again, feel free to pick whichever team you prefer. At the end, we'll see which team is the most proficient, the most efficient while dealing with JavaScript/React questions. All right, so I think we've talked enough. So let's do some coding. So let me start the challenge. Thank you very much, Alex. Let's do some coding. I'll do probably one or two beginner questions, and then I'll jump to the intermediate straight away. So we are gonna play. We are not competing, so I will leave the challenge. I'm not gonna affect the results either positively or negatively to any of the teams. So don't worry about that. So the first question we got on the upper beginner level is get string indexes. That's an interesting one, I believe, because the exercise is opinionated towards using a particular data structure or looping structure, better to say. In some cases, developer has a lot of freedom about using a particular technique. But in this occasion, the exercise is inviting you to use what we call for in. So as you may know, for in is a looping structure in JavaScript that plays with innumerable data structures. Yeah, an enumerable data structure is a variable, to simplify things, that can be enumerated. And I'm essentially talking about, well, of course, arrays. We also got strings, and objects are enumerable as well. So in this particular use case scenario, you can see that our function getStringIndexes receives a string. So we need to facilitate the argument inside of the parentheses. I don't know. Kim, do you have any preference regarding wording conversions? So they call it word, string, text. Any particular preference, Kim?
I guess text makes the most sense. String's a bit too like the type string.
Correct, too technical.
It was my first thought as well, though.
Yeah, no, fair enough, fantastic. So let's call it text. The only reason why I will suggest to use a string, even though I agree with you, it feels a bit too technical, is look at the function name. The function name is getStringIndexes. So if I call it string, it feels a bit more in sync with the function name. I mean, if we will have control on the signature on the function name, I will probably rename the function name to get text indexes, something like that.
Yeah.
But because that's not the case, all right, let's keep it as much natural as possible. And I agree with you, text may be the best one. All right, so we are going to use for in to iterate over the different indexes of the string. So you know that obviously if we got a string, so let me create a variable called let's movie equals I don't know, mega shark. and then we can access the different indexes of that particular variable. So, for instance, if I can do movie of 0, that will return the first character of the string, which is M. Likewise, movie 1 will return E, and so on. Right. So we can definitely iterate. We can enumerate the different elements of our text, of our string. All right. So technically speaking, the way we do that in JavaScript is by creating a variable. So we can do for let index in text. So now on each iteration, index will refer to the stringified index of each character of the string, which is a bit mind-blowing, right? But for instance, look, we got a string called you. So the first index is going to be 0. Here you go. The second index is going to be 1. Here you go. And the last index is going to be 2, right? So how can we capture that? Well, I have a proposal for you, Kim, today, and you tell me if you agree or not. So I'm going to create another variable called let indexes, which is going to be an array, because we are expected to return an array. So then what I'm going to do, is I'm going to simply push. I'm going to add its index to the array of indexes. So push will append its index at the end of the queue, right? And obviously, I finally will return the array with the list of indexes. What do you think, Kim?
It looks pretty straightforward. You need an S on the push.
We need an S. Ah, nice one. I did that on purpose to see if you were paying attention, Kim. No, I'm kidding, obviously. Of course, a push, P-U-S-H. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you very much, Kim. Let's see if it works. Aha, it works, right? It was like a charm. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Feels a bit weird, personally. I don't know. That's not the typical thing you come across on a daily basis when you play with JavaScript, but it's what it is, right? All right. So we do one more question. That's a good one. I like this question, Kim. Let's do that. So look, we have a function called isWord that receives an array of strings. Yeah, and then we need to determine whether this array contains strings, non-empty strings, let's say, in all the positions, right? So for instance, in the first use case scenario, you see it returns false because the first element of the array, it's an empty string. On the others, it returns true because all the strings have some content. So Kim, do you want to proceed? Do you have any idea in mind about how to solve this problem?
It sounds like a candidate for the every function.
I love it. Yes, every will work like a charm. Is it my feeling, or not many people uses every? I don't know why. Maybe it's just in my environment, in my circle, every is not very popular. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Every will work like a charm here. So we can do something like that. We can do return array dot every, and that will return a boolean, right? It will return true if every single element in this array matches the condition. So what's the condition? Well, the condition is that there is some text, right? So first of all, we see if we can improve that a bit later on, but we can say that each piece of text has a length greater than 0. Yeah, the empty string will have a length of 0, so it will return false. Yeah, so every. That's very convenient for this kind of problems. Will it work? Will this work, Kim, or did they do something wrong? What do you think?
I think that'll work.
All right. So look, it works. I believe we can optimize that a bit, right? We don't really need to compare. So we can remove the greater than 0, because at the end of the day, if the length is 1, 1 means it's truthy. So it will be valid regarding every. If the length is 0, it will be considered falsy, and then the whole expression will fail, right? So I think, you see, that still works, and slightly simpler. I strongly believe, Kim, not sure if you agree here with me or not, that the best code is the one you remove. It will never fail again. A piece of code will
That is
never fail
generally
again.
true. Yep. I think there's probably an argument for it's nice to be explicit as well.
Readability, fair enough. All right, yeah. I get your point, right? So if you do greater than 0, it's a bit more explicit, and then easier to read for humans. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm not against that. Cool, awesome, easy peasy, right? Anything else, Kim, regarding the beginner track?
I don't think so.
No.
They were nicely beginner.
Yeah, nicely beginner, exactly. All right. By the way, guys, I didn't mention, but Kodiri is an open platform. That means that if you are a JavaScript developer and you want to contribute, so you can create new challenges. This is a good example. So this challenge was created by a collaborator of Kodiri based in Russia, and actually she managed to get a job. She managed to break into tech thanks to Kodiri, thanks to this process of creating new challenges. Yeah. So if you want to participate, let us know, and we'll be obviously more than happy to work with you. All right, so I think that's enough beginner for today. And before I spoil the results too much, sorry about that, let's jump to JavaScript Intermediate. All right, so what we got today. So let's have a look to the first question. Oh, this is going to be a bit more complicated, of course, right? Let's try to understand the question first, because if we don't fully get the question, then it's going to be impossible to solve the problem. So get average pixels. So we got a function that receives some sort of object with information about CSS rules. So we need to extract the numeric properties. So we got, for instance, padding top 10 pixels. That's a numeric property. Display block, that's not a numeric property. However, padding left, it is a numeric property. So essentially, we got 10 pixels and 20 pixels. We need to get the average, which is 15 pixels from a human point of view, and then we have to return it as a number, just number 15. Yeah. So yeah, there are obviously several steps involved here. So let's see if we can divide this problem into smaller chunks, and then hopefully that will help us to achieve an eventual answer. All right, so first of all, let's talk about the argument name. So let me call it CSS props, for instance, for now. And then, because we want to get the values, we don't care if the property is called padding top, padding bottom, or margin left. We don't care, right? We just care about the values. So we can use return object.values CSS props. I'm going to do something for educational purposes. I'm going to add a comment on the right-hand side, trying to figure out what will be the outcome of that line in particular, so that on the first use case scenario, that should return an array with 10 pixels, block, and 20 pixels. Feel free to interrupt me, of course, Kim, if I do something wrong, which is likely to happen, by the way. So
okay so far.
Brilliant. All right, we got the first line sorted, right? Now let me try to do something, because we want to run some mathematical operations. I want to get rid of the px suffix. There are obviously different ways we can do that. We can use regular expressions. We can use a split. We can do that in many different ways. Let me do something. Let me use parse int. You know that parse int. Let me type something here. So if I do, if I got a string like that, 30 pixels, and I do parse int, it will essentially return number 30, which is convenient because that's literally what we want, right? That works with any type of a string. So if I got 30 blah, 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 that will work as well. The only thing we should take into consideration is parse int will stop parsing the expression as soon as the first non-numerical value is found. In other words, if I got, instead of 30 pixels, I got something weird like 3i0px, I believe this is going to return 3. Okay? It's a bit strange. The API is what it is, but in this particular use case scenario, it does the job. So I think we can take advantage of that. Because I want to iterate over each particular element of the array, I'm going to use map. So with map, let me call it, I don't know, CSS value, for instance. So then I'm going to use parse int CSS value. So what that will return? Can you help me, Kim? What do you think this is going to return?
Should return 10, nan, not a number, and then a 20.
Fair enough. I think that that's okay, right? I mean, I think we're moving to the right direction, because once we got that, now let's, for instance, let's discard the non-numerical values. So we can use filter. So with filter, we're not talking about CSS values anymore. We're talking about, well, I don't know how to call that, because I was tempted to call it number, but that may not be the case, right? The second element is not a number. So yeah, I don't know. That may not be. I know that now some people may be complaining about my semantics, but yeah, let's move on. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ignore the not a number. I want to play with pure numbers. So can I do something like that? I want to keep the value if not is not a number, which means if it's a number, right? Does it make sense, Kim?
Yep. If it's not a number, then it must be a number.
Yeah. That's an interesting discussion. Actually, we'll talk about potential bits improvements, right? Because I think you opened the Pandora box there, and we'll see in a minute, right? But all right, fair enough. Let's keep it simple, right? One problem at a time. So yeah, hopefully we'll get now an array of two numbers, 10 and 20. And because we got two numbers, we can easily get the average. I'm going to use reduce. I know many people use reduce to get the average. So what they do is they get the total, and then they divide the total by the number of elements of the array, which is absolutely fine. So in other words, if we got, for instance, numbers 1, 2, and 3, we want to get the average. So there are two ways we can do that, right? So we can, first of all, get the total, which is 6, and then divide the total by the number of elements. How many elements we got? 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2, which is the average. Yeah, that's fine. However, some people ignore somehow that there is a different way we can solve the problem. So we can do these two steps in one iteration. So what we can do is we can do 1 divided by 3. So we can divide each number by the number of elements, plus 2 divided by 3, plus 3 divided by 3, which is the same, right? Because this is going to return eventually 6/3, which is obviously 2, right? So two different approaches to solve the same problem. So I'm going to use reduce, and I'm going to call the first of all, we got the accumulator, obviously. So I'm going to call it the average, if I can type it right correctly. The second argument is going to be the value, or the CSS value itself. But now the problem is we need to know how many elements our array has, and that's not that obvious, right? Because how many elements do we have? Visually speaking, we know it's 2, but how do we know that? Well, thankfully, as many of you know, reduce has a third argument, which is its individual index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there is the array containing all the values. That's pretty convenient in this kind of situations, because then we can easily determine the number of elements of the array. Yeah. So once we got that, let me initialize. We need to initialize the accumulator to 0, otherwise we may have problems. And then eventually what we want to do is we want to return its number or its CSS value plus no, sorry, excuse me. No, that's wrong. We're going to get the average, whatever the average was, plus its number divided by the length of the array. Am I right, Kim, or not?
I think so.
You don't feel very convinced. All right,
it makes my brain hurt. But yeah, I don't normally do averages that way around. I do it the other way.
All right, so let's do
So, yeah.
something. Let's do something. Let's set up an iteration matrix. I tend to do that often to visualize whether my approach is right or wrong. So, for instance, on iteration number 1, the value of average is going to be 0, right? Because that's the default of the accumulator. And then what else? What's the value of CSS value? The first one is going to be 10. Yeah, agree with you, Kim. It's going to be 10. And then CSS values of length is going to be 3. This is not going to change, right? So after the first iteration, we are returning 0 plus 10 divided by 2, which is 5. Yeah, fair enough. Let's move to iteration number 2. What's the average so far, Kim?
5.
It is 5, correct. So the new CSS value is going to be 20, correct. So now the length obviously remain stable. It's 3. So now what we are returning is what the average was, which is 5, plus the current value, 20 divided by 2. So 5 plus 20 divided by 2 is 15. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, length should be 2, but you got it right in the return statement. So.
It should be. Sorry, what did I do wrong? Sorry.
Length should be 2, right?
It should be.
It's right in the return statement, but above it where you put the length, you put 3. I presume you meant 2.
Sorry. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. Absolutely. The length was, obviously. Yeah. Length was 2. Yeah. Thank you. All right. So yeah, I mean, I hope that will make it. We'll experiment a different approach if you want in a minute. Let's see if it works, right? Yeah, you see, it works. So how can we improve that?
Question on that one.
Yeah, go for it.
It says find the numeric ones that end in px for pixel. So what if you had one that was 10 em? For example.
That's a really good question, Kim. That's a really good question. I didn't consider that, but you're absolutely right. As always, by the way. So
won't go that far.
So the code works perfectly in this use case scenario. But what Kim is suggesting is, what happened if suddenly we got 10 em or 10 rem or 10 view width? You know, obviously there are different approaches, right? I mean, this snippet will incorporate these units. What happens if we don't really want to incorporate them? We definitely need to change something, and I'm particularly talking, I believe, about that line, right? Line number 3. So how will you? Do you have any proposal, Kim?
You could add a filter in before that, and only include stuff that ends in px.
Correct. You can use that's right. So we could use filter, and then we could only keep that element if it includes px. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can do that. So yeah, that's absolutely fine. Let's see how can we simplify the code a bit, Kim. So for instance, I guess we can get rid of the curly braces and just return expression. Yeah, that's not going to change anything. Oh, wait a minute. This is a semicolon, of course, right? Because remember that if you return expression, you cannot have a semicolon at the end, right? Cool. I sweat a bit here. Given the current approach, can we improve anything else, Kim? Can we, for instance, can I do
that? No, because map gets as a second argument the index, which if you parse that to parse in, it will parse stuff in different bases to decimal.
Brilliant. Yeah, I completely agree with you. So parse int, I know many people, they do things like that, right? So parse int 5 or 6 px, and that will return 6, easy peasy. But in reality, parse int expects a second argument. Actually, if you're familiar with linting tools like ESLint, I think by default they complain about these things. Like they're telling something like, please use I think they call it radix or base, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Where we specify the numerical nature of the parsing. We can talk about decimal numbers, but we could be talking about hexadecimal numbers, or we could be talking about binary numbers. So obviously there are different approaches. So you are absolutely right, Kim. If we use the shorthand expression, what we are doing in reality is something a bit strange, where we are parsing in the first iteration with a 0 as a radix, because that will be the first index. On the second index, we'll use radix 1, and that's weird, right? I mean, this is going to ruin everything. You see, if I run it, that's not going to work. So there, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but we need to be aware of that. And one more question, Kim. Can we use, do you know the new number dot is not a number? Are you familiar with that?
I was introduced to that last time I was here. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yes, so we talk about that. Yes, so as Kim said, it's not the first time we talk about that, definitely, right? So if it's the first time you spot number that is not a number, so let's present an example about how similar and how different it is. So with this is not a number, what it tells you is whether the argument you pass is not a number. So for instance, if I type is not a number, hello, what's that going to return, Kim?
False or true? I don't know. It's not nan, so false. Let's run to the console.
I think this is going to return true.
It's true for that one. Yeah.
Yes. Why? Because what is not a number checks is whether the argument is not a number. Is hello not a number? Yes, it is not a number. That's why it returns true. However, let's see what happened if you type number dot is not a number with the same argument. In this occasion, I believe this is going to return false.
Because
the reason,
number.
Exactly. Number dot is not a number, mind the case, checks if the argument is not a number, which is a special sort of value in JavaScript. Yeah. So is not a number, to put things all together, checks if the value is not a number. While number dot is not a number, checks if the value is not a number, strictly speaking.
That's great to explain over audio.
Sorry, Kim, I did my best.
That's okay.
All right. Yeah, I think obviously we could spend a few minutes working on this exercise. We could get the total and then divide it. But do you agree with me, Kim? Should we move on? Because otherwise we're going to run out of time. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right, so let's do what time is it? Okay, we've got 20 minutes. Arrays operations. Oh, that's going to be interesting. So we have two methods. So this means that we're building some sort of array utility component where we want to be able to add elements to an array and to remove elements from the array. Yeah, I mean, well, there are different ways I believe we can approach the problem. I'm going to invite you, Kim, and I will let you the control on the next question, because otherwise I'm doing too much, I believe. I'm gonna propose to use a splice. Splice has a funny signature. It's a very old method, so you need to get used to it. But the way splice works, I'll show you in a minute. So first of all, let's talk about the signature. So we receive an array of artists or musicians, if you want to be a bit more precise from a semantic point of view. Then we have the musician that we want to add to the list of artists. So let me call it musician. And then the position where this musician is going to be. So for instance, if we got Beethoven and Vivaldi, and we're going to add Barber at index 1, yep, oh, you see essentially barber will be in between of the other two. So the first thing I will consider is using something like that, return musicians.splice, and then splice translates into the signature, because as I said, it's a bit funny. So first of all, we set up the index we want to deal with. So splice is very convenient to run any operations with arrays. So with a splice, we can add, we can edit, we can delete, it's very powerful actually, but we need to get used to the signature. So first of all, the index. Index tells, hey, I wanna do something on index number one, which is true. Yeah. The second argument of a splice is how many elements we want to remove. We want to get rid. 0. Yeah? We don't want to remove any element on the add multiple use cases scenario. And then the last argument is elements that we want to add to the array in that particular index. So that's the musician. Yeah. That's the way splice works regarding adding. Pretty similar regarding removing. So first of all, musicians. Then we got the index that we want to play with. So for instance, in this use case scenario, look, Mozart, Pachelbel, Chopin, and host, we want to attack index number one. So Pachelbel is in risk. And we want to remove 2 elements starting from index 1. So Pachelbel and Chopin should be removed from the array. So pretty similar. We can do musicians.splice. Again, we attack to the index. Now it becomes relevant the number of elements we want to remove. Actually, I forgot to pass the argument. So I can call it how many or count. Do you have any preference, Kim? What semantics?
I'd say count.
Count, fair enough. So count. So I want to go to index number 1, and I want to remove 2 elements, and that's it. Yeah. That's not gonna work, I'm afraid, because splice is a bit funny. And splice returns the number of elements, no, the elements, not the number, returns a copy of the elements that have been removed. And that explains why on the add multiple, we are returning an empty array because we are not removing anything. However, if you pay attention to the remove multiple, we are getting back the elements that have been removed. That's not what we want. So what we can do is we can, first of all, splice the array, and eventually we can return the resulting array. Yeah. So technically speaking, that should solve the problem, obviously, if we fix the indentation issues, right? I'm not really happy about that, Kim, because as you probably are imagining, splice is altering. So we are shadowing the original array. In other words, both add multiple and remove multiple methods, they are impure, yeah, because they receive an array. And however, we modify the array because the arrays are passed by reference. So is there a way, Kim, are you aware of any technique to copy maybe the arrays so then we can safely modify them afterwards?
The fanciest way is the spread operator.
I love it. Yes, fantastic. So we can create a new array. So musicians copy maybe. And then first of all, you'll tell me, Kim, if that's correct or not. So can I do something like that?
No, you end up with the same problem, copy by reference.
Correct.
So modifying the original.
Exactly. So we are still pointing to the same address, to the same array in memory, right? So any update on the theoretically copied array will have an impact on the original one. So that's actually doing nothing, right? We still have the same problem. So as you suggested, correct me if I'm wrong, you wanted to do something like that, right? We can use the sexy spread operator to effectively create a copy of the elements of the array and then with the square brackets, we capture them again into a new version of the array. So now, if we take any action on the musicians copy array, this is not gonna affect the original array. Do you see any potential problem of this approach, Kim?
Don't end up with a memory leak or anything, do you?
What happened? No, what happened if rather than having an array of strings, what happened if we were playing with an array of objects?
Yeah, it's a shallow copy.
Correct. It's a shallow copy. So you need to be careful, guys. If you use a spread operator in this use case scenario, that's okay as far as you got an array of strings, an array of numbers, an array of booleans, an array of primitives. But as soon as you got an array of complex data structures that are handled by reference, and I'm obviously talking about, but not only arrays and objects, then you need to be careful. You may need to run a deep copy. Definitely that's a different type of problem that I'm not going to cover here, right? So
then you go and get Lodash and get it to do it for you.
You can get Lodash, exactly. Yeah. Are you still using Lodash these days?
I haven't used, not for a while, I don't think. I haven't written much JavaScript for a while, but
yeah. I remember how convenient these tools were, I don't know, back in time. When you remember when we didn't even have things like map and filter. I mean, I'm talking about 10 years ago, right? I know I feel very old now, but 10 years ago, it was so difficult to iterate arrays, and now it's massively evolved.
Didn't know whether to say back in my day we used array.prototype.push.
Oh,
an array.
God. Oh, God.
I remember learning that as a junior and be like, wow.
Yeah, all times.
Yeah.
All times. They were not better. Always, at least, in any case. Anyway, before we feel older than we are, Kim, I think we can. Good 10 minutes, so I have an idea. I have a proposal. Should we do a bit of React to do something a bit different?
Oh yeah, go on then.
Yeah, all right. So let me leave this exercise, and before I spoil the results again. Hello, you saw nothing. I like quite a lot of people playing today. So let me do one. You can do, actually now you can take most of the control, Kim. Let's do one beginner question just to warm up a bit. And then you can do one intermediate if you want. So, all right, this is gonna be free sugar. So we got a welcome component, and we are expected to deal with props in order to display a message to welcome our customers. I mean that we're building a next unicorn, next multi-billion app, and we want to display a friendly message. Welcome to the app again, Peter, whatever. Yeah. So how will you solve the problem, Kim?
So in between your divs, you just want welcome to React with a comma.
Welcome to React. Welcome to React, comma. Yeah.
And then some squirrely brackets.
Yeah.
And props.user, which will insert the user that has been passed in to the component. And there's an exclamation mark on the end.
And the exclamation mark. Fantastic. Yeah, I like it. I think that's gonna work. Let's figure it out. Here you go. Right, it works fine. Would you suggest any improvement, any change?
I'd kind of like that. It's simple and explicit.
All right, yeah, I must agree with you.
You can move the props.user into a variable.
All right, fair enough. You can do that. What about, do you like the structuring, Kim? So for instance, can we, rather than typing props, can we type just user?
I dislike that because I find it more difficult to read.
Really? Do you?
Because I miss the squirrely brackets when I look at it. So then I just assume it's an argument called user.
That's interesting.
Just the way my brain works.
But, all right, I get your point. I completely respect your point. But let me present you a slightly different problem. So imagine that we have another function called welcome, but because our app is a bit sneaky and it works with some spy agencies, we want to get a lot of information about our customers. So we got the name of the user. I didn't want to do that. We want to play information about the name of the user, the age, email address, phone numbers, right? So from that point of view, let's present actually some sort of pseudocode example. So we're going to display user details, right? So here we do name, props.name, and then we got the age, whatever, yeah? Props.age, and then email. You get the point. So, oh, what the hell I'm doing? So I can do it eventually. All right, so we got email, props.email. All right, so I have nothing against that. However, personally, and that's maybe just my coding style, I would rather prefer to be a bit more explicit about the arguments, because that's giving me a much better feeling about what I'm gonna deal with. Yeah, and it, I don't know, it becomes more readable. I can immediately get a feeling about the data I'm playing with, and then I had to type less, because I find particularly exhausting to type props multiple times. Yeah, but again, this is just a very personal feeling. Actually, I'm going to give you another reason, Kim, to use the structuring. You know that with the structuring, we can initialize variables as well. So imagine that in some cases, because of whatever reason, we don't have the name of the user. So of course, here we could do something like props.name, or we can have a default name, guest user, something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
But using the structuring, we can do something quite sexy. Something like that.
There is a compromise. You can do the destructuring on the first line of the function instead of the arguments to it.
You can do the structuring of
the props dot everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So you want to do it here. You want to do print a variable con. Yeah, but then what's the point of adding an extra line?
I just find it easier to read when it's not in the arguments to the function.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Brackets.
Yeah. Less brackets. Yeah, I get your point. Fantastic. All right, cool. All right. So then I'm gonna follow your guidelines and I'm gonna bring it props back. However, I'm gonna suggest a different change. So this component, this React component, is encapsulated by a div. Why is that? Is the test opinionated about using divs? Can I use a paragraph actually, for instance?
Yep.
I mean, that's gonna work, right? That's gonna work.
Whatever you want.
Even a fragment, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be extra aggressive here, Kim. Can I just use, JavaScript?
Yes.
Even easier, right?
Yep.
Thing is, what's the point of artificially adding HTML or JSX, even if it's a fragment, if you don't really need it, right? So, cool. Anything else, Kim?
I think that's it.
Yeah. All right, cool. By the way, I'm not sure, this is a bit off topic. Did you have the chance to play with a new version of Vue? It's still in beta. I think it's release candidate already, by the way.
I have not.
I will massively invite you to play a bit with it, because it's fantastic. I mean, I have created a GitHub repo. I will share it later on, where I have a front-end app written in Vue 3, and I got a back-end app written in Deno, and it's really great. So one of the beautiful things that Vue 3 has done is to inherit things that work really well in other languages, in other libraries, like React. So for instance, Vue 3 supports JSX out of the box without any magic, right? So yeah, I think this works really well in that respect. It also supports some sort of, that's not new about Vue 3, but Vue supports some sort of templating language like Angular, something you know really well, right? So something that Vue has done really well over time is, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, create new things, some people said copy. I don't want to use the word copy because it's a bit unfair. They got inspired, correct? They got inspired by things that work really well in other frameworks, libraries, and so on. I think it makes sense, right? Anyway, so let's leave beginner. We got 5 minutes, Kim. So I'm gonna give you control. I'm gonna give you. You got all the responsibility in your shoulders to do one React intermediate question. So I'll help you a bit here about what the problem is. So we're going to create a component in React using hooks. Are you familiar with hooks, Kim?
Yes, haven't written anything, but yeah.
Okay. So we need to use hooks to create a basic component with a label and a button. So it's like a switcher, right? So the label will display by default feature disabled, like a feature toggle. You know feature toggles, of course.
Yep.
So when you click on the button, the feature will become enabled, and the label will reflect it when you click again, on and off all the time, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I'm not gonna do anything here. So I will. You'll take control end to end.
Okie dokie. So I guess we want to start with declaring a variable. So we want to start with
Const or let.
Or are you typing? Are you typing? Cool. Yeah, declare a variable or two variables with the use state hook.
So tell me variable names.
Toggle enabled. Set toggle enabled. It depends what it's toggling. Oh, feature. Call it feature enabled.
Feature.
Yeah.
The feature enabled, and then set
feature enabled.
All right. Any default value here?
Default it to true, I think. Oh no,
right.
false.
Yeah, false, because by default the label will display feature disabled. All right, fair enough. So the lights are off by default, right? Which makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. And then return some JSX and make a label and a button.
So label and the button. All right.
Cool. And then in your label, it'll be feature.
Oh, the text, right? So feature.
And then which just on one line if statement, ternary operator.
Yeah.
If it's enabled, say enabled. If it's not, say disabled. We'll do it like that for now, and then I'll probably change my mind.
Yeah, fair enough. Something like
that. Yep. And the button, I guess, just can say click me or toggle or something.
Yeah. The
like
exercise. Yeah, that's fine. The exercise is not opinionated, all the text on the.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. And then what else?
And then we want an on click on the button.
Yeah.
Where we give it a function, which we will call set feature enabled, and give that not feature enabled. So therefore,
what happened?
If it's currently enabled, it will set it to false, and if it's currently disabled, it will set it to true.
Something like that.
Yeah. So we'll toggle it.
What happened if we hard code it to true?
It'll always stay true every time you click on it.
Yeah.
Enable it.
Do you imagine, Kim, that you moved to a new house and you called the electrician to look after all the electricity system, and they tell you, all right, so the lights on your living room are off, you can switch them on, but that's it, right?
That's it.
That's it. Forever. I'm sure British Gas is going to be very happy about your next bill. Anyway, yeah. So let's do it right? So we are toggling on and off all the time. All right. I don't think that's gonna work, I'm afraid, Kim.
What have I missed?
let's test. Let's evaluate it, and hopefully that will give us an idea about what the problem is. So here we go. The error, I think the second one is a bit hard to read because I'm zooming the screen a lot. But look.
I need to wrap it in a fragment.
Exactly. Let's wrap it in a fragment. Fantastic. All right. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Let me move things around for readability purposes. Yeah, I'm quite happy about that. So let's test it.
Dash on the end of your fragment.
Yeah, I didn't close the fragment. Yeah, thank you very much. And now finally we got confetti time. Cool. That was fun, Kim. That was cool. Any final thoughts? Any improvements, or are you happy with it?
I guess I don't really like having a ternary in the JSX. I'd set that as a variable, but other people would argue it's more readable like that. So
yeah, fair enough. So you are proposing to use a constant here like. So what do you want to extract? The whole thing or just the expression?
I think just the expression is enough.
Feature text, I don't know, whatever,
yeah. Like that.
And then you want to extract it. Yeah, I'm not strongly opinionated. The thing is, the more complex the component is, the more I appreciate that, because it's a way to, abstract and separate things, and then we can even move that to a function, and we can test it, and I think it scales better. Other question is why your component is getting more and more complex, right? The component should remain simple, so there are different approaches. I got a very last question for you, Kim, before we move to the results, because I think it's time up. So would you use constant? Which const or let?
Const for all of those, as they never change.
Yeah, that's correct. I remember I had a discussion with a member of Meetup recently, and he was complaining. He was saying, we shouldn't use const because in reality, the feature, the toggle will change on and off, right? But the point is, every time the feature changes, every time you effectively update the hook, React will re-render the function. So it will instantiate the variable again. So that's why, technically speaking, once you set the variable, you never change it, right? Anything else, Kim?
Don't think so.
No? Okay, cool. That was fun. I hope you enjoyed the session.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a look at the results?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Sharks or the whales win.
Which team are you supporting today? Sharktopus?
I like the whales. I go with
you like the whales? Yeah.
werewolf.
You need to watch the
It's
movie.
really hard to say.
Nice. All right, guys. Let's have a quick look to the results. Let's start with I don't know, maybe JavaScript. Just following the same order. So let me prepare lower beginner, upper beginner, and upper intermediate. I know some people has just submit the results. So let me refresh just to make sure we got the latest version. And now, all right. So now let's present the results. So before going into the details, let me have some words about what are we evaluating here. So this is what we call the PPP, Players Performance Pentagon. And here, each player is represented by a color. You don't know if you are the red, the blue, or the yellow, but each player is a color. So here, that gives you the overview, yeah, the top view of the challenge. So what metrics are we evaluating? First of all, tenacity, how many questions you've completed out of 5. Accuracy, how many times you submit and the answer was wrong. Speed, how long it took you to complete the challenge. Focus, how many times you went to Google or to Stack Overflow to get some help. Elegance means how standard your code is according to our LinkedIn guidelines. And that's pretty much it, right? So based on that, we got a score. You can visually see that this line, I don't know what color is that, but obviously the outer color won the challenge because essentially got a better score on every single metric. So, by the way, you can check the results by yourself afterwards. And something you can do, I didn't mention that, is you can compare the code. So you can see the code you wrote against the code that your colleagues wrote. So that's particularly convenient, not only to find a way to solve problems you struggle with, but also to discover different techniques, different approaches to the problem that you already solved. Yeah, also that in a minute. First of all, let's have a look at the results. I'm going to ignore the individual results. Let's jump straight to the team results. So, 2 teams. Let me zoom the screen out a bit. We got Sharktopus lovers versus werewolf lovers. You can see that we play with rank titles. So we got an Imperial Majesty. That means this player is on the top of our charts. So what's the average score of the Sharktopus lovers team? Not too bad. It's 49. What about the werewolf team? Is it higher or lower? It's 72. So it's 1-0 for werewolf lovers. As I told you, if you check the challenge again, as you can see, you can analyze each individual bit of code, and then you can see who is right, who is wrong, and compare different coding techniques. You can even up vote or down vote snippets, depending on whether you like them or not, of course. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's have a look to upper upper beginner. So obviously, the more difficult the challenge is, the smaller the shapes tend to be. Yeah, I think that's quite normal. So what we got here? So again, team results. Remember, is 1-0 for Whale Wolf Lovers in this occasion. However, we got 2 Imperial Majesty players in the Sarctopus team. Not only in the UK, we got people playing from different countries, which makes the challenge a bit more international. All right, so average score of the Sarctopus team is 63, so that's great, even better than on the lower beginner. And what about the Whale Wolf? Is 2-0 or 1-0? Look at that, they nail it, 89. So it looks like Whale Wolf is a bit more popular, right? Or Whale Wolf lovers are a bit more efficient writing JavaScript code than Sarctopus lovers. No, just kidding. All right, then, so what's next? Let me show you the next challenge, which is the last one on the JavaScript track. So this is, let me refresh the page just in case, upper intermediate. So that challenge was quite complicated. You can see, however, that if I can see the shape correctly, 3 players managed to solve all the questions. Main differences were on the accuracy and particularly the focus. Some people had to go to an external code editor or Google or whatever to play with coding. So let's have a look at the results. 2-0 for Whale Wolf. In this occasion, 1 Imperial Majesty in each time and 2 newbies. So Sarctopus Lovers score is, oh, look at that, 9.8. That looks like it's going to be a 3-0 for Whale Wolf, as you can see here. Yeah. By the way, I'm saying that we are calculating the average. That's not true, because clearly the average between these 3 numbers is not 9. We are getting the median score, which tends to, ignore the exotic scores and just focus on what happened in the middle of the patch. All right, of the pack. So yeah, it's a 3-0 for Whale Wolf Lovers. And then let's quickly move to React. Let me present the scores across the 3 challenges. We'll start again with the lower beginner. Let me just refresh the other challenges in the meantime. So lower beginner, again, really good scores. Many people solving all the questions. That's not a surprise at all. But what about the median performance of its team? Is it 4-0 for Whale Wolf or 3-1? So, look at that. That's quite solid. 92 points for Sarctopus Lover versus, look at that, 80 points for Whale Wolf. 3-1. That's looking interesting. Upper beginner, the penultimate challenge of the day. Again, you see some people struggling a bit more with the questions. So let's have a look at the ranks, team results. 2 versus 2. Sarctopus 676. That's solid. That's a really good one. And what about the Whale Wolf? Oh, look at that. It's 3-2. That's interesting. It looks like Whale Wolf lovers are more efficient writing JavaScript, but Sarctopus lovers are better with React. Yeah, is that the conclusion of the day? I don't know. Let's find out with the last challenge of the day. Look at that. Look at how exotic that shape looks. So this is the React upper intermediate, mostly about things like hooks, forms, state handling, and things like that. All right, let's have a look at the ranks. Team results. So 4-2 for Whale Wolf, or it's 3-0. We got a solo warrior on the left-hand side, and his score was 79. Late drama here. Kim, what are your thoughts here?
It's done pretty well.
So let's see if the Sarctopus team managed to balance the result. So the Whale Wolf Lovers score is, that was so close. That was so close. Ruthless. 83 points for Whale Wolf Lovers. It's a 4-2. But that was a beautiful battle. I hope, guys, you enjoy the session. I would like to thank you, Kim, for obviously your contributions, your expertise. It's been a pleasure to work with you again. I'm not sure if you have any final thoughts.
Oh, it's been fun as always. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for joining. Guys, I hope you enjoy the session. Feel free to keep playing with Kodiri. Remember, this is a free tool. You can practice with coding skills across different languages, frameworks, platforms. You can find yourself in the leaderboards if you like the competitive aspect of coding. And also, last but not least, we can see statistics, how many people is playing, best developers by country, best countries. You got many metrics. Also, the heat map, I find that particularly interesting. So you can see where people is playing with Kodiri from all around the world. And if you like the idea, if you want to contribute, let us know. We have collaborators in many different countries. We are helping privileged people in different locations. So, we are trying to help as many people as possible. Apart from that, again, thank you very much for everything. I hope you enjoyed the experience. Looking forward to see you in the next one. Happy coding.
Hi everyone, Tom from the JavaScript Exchange here again. Just want to say a very big thank you for you all joining in this evening. Also a massive shout out to Ricardo at Kodiri, Alex over at Pusher for an awesome event. Very much enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too and learned a few things this evening as well. Our next event is lined up for September, so we'll be announcing details on that real soon. We've got 3 great talks lined up from Cognizant, Metric Markets and the BBC as well, talking all things JavaScript. So keep your eyes peeled on your inbox for the details to be coming through soon. For now though, take care, stay safe and hope to see you soon. Bye bye.